I really like this movie. Hey, I said I was going to do one more Rudolph-esque movie, and like it or not, I chose this one because I actually grew up with it, just like the old film. Anyway, hello everybody, I am the Spirit Man, the embracer of human good and analyst of fiction, and welcome to another Rudolph-esque episode of What I Remembered. And number 6 of the Christmas 9. Man, to think we've come this far, and to think I'm releasing both of these episodes of Rudolph just before Christmas Eve and Christmas Day approaches. So like I said in my previous video, I still love the 60s stop motion classic, even from what I loosely remember. And I also still really like this movie that I watched a lot back in the early 2000s when I was very little. I had no idea, or at least I didn't fully comprehend, that the now infamous GoodTimes Entertainment was responsible for producing this, especially in a amateurish manner that's the one so-called Phelous has gloriously torn apart in his own review of this movie, which I also haven't seen in a while, just as I haven't seen this movie in full in quite a long time. But from what I remember, it was still really, really good. It had a great effect on me as a kid, and still has a great effect on me as an adult. So, and similar to the Jim Carrey Grinch movie or the Elf movie, Beauty and the Beast, and so forth, this is one of the movies that just clicked to me that I had to do a skit of for this month of December 2015. Oh, sorry, December 2018, as it is in your reality. And let's not waste any more time. Yes, especially by today's standards, the 3D of this movie is very low, maybe decent as best by everyone else's standards, but let's get started in about now. So, this sort of sequel produced by GoodTimes, not by Rankin Bass, but that's a whole different story because they actually made sequels to Rudolph in the past. This starts out with a little scene where we see brainwashed toys walking to the roof, being taken away by a sinister figure with a flute, literally called the Toy Taker, which is a bit of a creepy name, and voiced by Rick Moranis of all people. You remember when Rick Moranis was a thing, right? For a long time, that is. And apparently he's been committing toy thefts, mass toy thefts all over the world. That's getting everybody's attention, a lot of people's attention. And this particular event in crisis, along with other things, is being narrated by a new snowman character, a very modern-esque snowman character or whatnot, 90s, 2000 themed, I guess, voiced by Richard Dreyfuss. I think this, as a kid, this was the first time I ever heard the celebrity name Richard Dreyfuss. And he tells us he's some snowman reporter of some North Pole newspaper thing, which I'm sure they just made for this character. And he talks about it. Now, you didn't think that Rudolph's story ended that foggy Christmas Eve, did you? And he thinks back to this other time that Rudolph saved Christmas with his friends, and as we get reintroduced to all the classic Rankin Bass characters, we have a very cool slow tempo version of the Rudolph theme song as the opening credits are coming in and so forth. And after the opening credits are done, I think everybody is preparing Christmas and all. And I don't think Rudolph himself really says much of anything just yet. Not even Clarice, his sort of girlfriend and all that. And by the way, I have to agree with Phelous on this, whose certain criticisms are still fresh in my head from a while back. I didn't pay attention to this much as a kid, but they didn't really stay true to the age of Rudolph and Clarice in particular from the original Rankin Bass film. They kept them as young kids, as young teenagers, I guess, because everybody recognizes them as such from the old film. They don't really care about their adult forms and all. And apparently in Rankin Bass's own sequels to Rudolph, they deliberately made Rudolph a lot younger. And yeah, even I have to ask, why the fuck did they do that? But I'm sure that's some other completely different stories entirely. So there's this really touching scene where Rudolph and Clarice are just walking alongside each other, and Rudolph's kind of showing off his flying abilities while this really pretty song is being played, If we can fly away, together we'll fly someday. Clarice and Rudolph continue chilling out while this magic kite is approaching the North Pole, and briefly meets the snowman who lets him know where to find Hermie the dentist. Rudolph and Clarice return to the Christmas party, or whatever party it is, because it's not quite Christmas yet now that I think about it. Rudolph tries to tell everybody, all I really wanted was to turn on your nose, Rudolph, to be like everyone else. Like, nobody really cares about what he wants. After all these decades, he still wants to be just a normal reindeer, which I think is totally understandable, totally fine, and more or less in character, because just because his nose turned out to be great for some things doesn't mean he himself is self-satisfied, Oh, and apparently Rudolph is voiced by the same woman who voiced him in another GoodTimes Rudolph, the Red-Nosed Reindeer film. How about that? So then soon after this, and after Rudolph gives an autograph, literally with his footprint, with his hoof print, I guess you should call it, since reindeers have hooves and all, the magic kite comes in and tells Hermie, the king lion of the island of misfit toys needs your help because of his terrible toothache. So then Clarice and Rudolph and Hermie go on a journey to the island of misfit toys, which is not, I will admit after all these years, is not the best name for such a sequel, even if it was a 2001 movie, of all things. There's this fun little musical number between Hermie and Rudolph about keep your chin up and so forth. They get to the island of misfit toys, and there's another fun song about literally, oh, the island of misfit toys. Oh, the island of misfit toys. Toys, toys, toys. We're on the island of misfit. I think it's a fun song. I know some Phelous might find it annoying, but it was still a lot of fun thinking back on it. I remember the boomerang and the pig who doesn't have any change and so forth. I always make fun of the boomerang and make him like a bit of a jackass. I imagine to myself like, bullshit, mate, because I'm the boomerang that doesn't come back. Wah! So then the king lion, I keep forgetting his name. I've always forgotten his name for a long time, to be honest. He comes out of nowhere with his hand to his mouth, going, oh, the pain, the pain. And Hermie tries to tend to his pain, to his mouth, and they have this funny joke of, please, don't tell me I need a root canal. You need a root canal. I told you not to tell me that. Now this won't hurt a bit. Mommy. So while this epic dentist magic is going on, the toy taker continues his toy stealing crime sprees including, I think, at Santa's workshop of all places around this time. And I'm trying to remember when and why Hermie and Rudolph. Oh, now I remember. They were trying to return home, and their vehicle crashes, and they end up on this island where a giant hippo queen of all things rules over her own little kingdom of toys and so forth, primarily of cookies for some reason, of walking gingerbread cookies. Queen Camilla. Queen Camilla was the queen's name. And let's see. After having this fun little song of "Hey toys, let me fix ya," whatever. Oh, and Queen Camilla is voiced by Jamie Lee Curtis, and I did know, even as a kid, I knew who Jamie Lee Curtis was because she was in Freaky Friday, back in the day, which was after this film, but whatever. So after Camilla explains how she fixes up toys, and I guess other people in general, Rudolph suddenly realizes, could you finally give me a regular nose? But Hermie tells him, well, hold on. What if there's another foggy Christmas Eve, or what if this and that? And apparently Camilla reminds them, Santa can't afford headlights, darling. And so she agrees to give Rudolph a new nose, a regular nose, after Christmas, I suppose. So then everybody returns home. Rudolph and Clarice go on some date where Clarice finally teaches herself how to fly with Rudolph's help, because Rudolph tells her he loves her, whispers to her he loves her, and he just dunks his head in the snow because he feels so embarrassed. It's really nice, really cute, if I do say so. And after Clarice finally starts flying, Comet calls them back to Santa's house, where everyone reveals that the entire workshop has been robbed of all the toys and supplies by the toy taker. And Santa's really upset, saying, I should have guarded the toys myself. He took every toy we made this year. And then the elf captain or whoever's like, and even the toys guarding the toys. And then this one elf realizes, he tells everyone he spotted a blimp moving around the house, Santa's house and workshop, and everyone realizes, oh, so that's how the toy taker's been going around stealing everything. And then somehow or other, Santa hires Rudolph and friends to investigate, to find the toy taker, track him down, and stop him once and for all. After investigating the workshop, and Hermie is bothered by his old elf boss from back then, back in the day, back in the old movies, who I forgot to mention in the other video, but whatever. And also Hermie talks about having a crush on the Tooth Fairy of all people, who randomly shows up at the very end and invites him on a date. It's really funny thinking back on it. So then I think Rudolph, Hermie, Clarice, someone else. They get Yukon Cornelius and the Abominable Snowman, nickname is Bumble now, and they work together to go on a trip to stop the toy taker, and for Yukon Cornelius, it's because he and Bumble can no longer find treasure in the diamond mines of the North Pole, because the North Pole has diamond mines apparently. So then after investigating certain things with the toy taker about where he's been to all over the world, apparently he's stolen all the toys. They realize that the only places he hasn't robbed is Castaway Cove and the Island of Misfit Toys. And I think it's around this time or a little earlier that the toy taker has his villain song, his really cool villain song of the toy taker, that's me, will take care of you. And you, and you, and you. It's a great a villain scene where he tells all the toys, Your kids will soon treat you like trash. They'll toss you aside like yesterday's trash. And this terrifies all the toys, and they're somewhat hesitant to accept the toy taker's hospitality. But then we find out later that everyone is still brainwashed into being his puppets. And let's see here. So then Rudolph and friends are too late to save the Castaway Cove toys, or at least the gingerbread cookie army, which is pretty much all Queen Camilla had. Budget cuts, I suppose, for this freaking film to begin with. And then the team sets up this whole pretend to be toys plan, so that when the toy taker comes to take all the toys from the island of misfit toys, they will act like toys and be kidnapped with everybody. But unfortunately, the abominable snowman Bumble cannot be taken because he's too big to fit on the blimp. So Bumble has to follow the blimp by swimming on a big piece of ice, which was funny. And then, even though Rudolph and everybody tries to save the toys are all hypnotized and stuff to serve the toy takers. So they literally yell, "Intruders! Intruders!" And the toy taker confronts them and tries to, I don't think he tries to kill them or anything, he just tries to escape. And everybody chases after him. And then the boomerang comes out of nowhere, hits Yukon Cornelius in the head and makes him fall off, while Rudolph and Clarice try to capture the toy taker with Rudolph's red nose blinding him, but they fail to catch him and he gets away, I think. Or maybe the chase goes on. Whatever, the chase goes on into the diamond mines and they eventually catch him. I remember Phelous' comments of, "Oh, they caught me. That was easy." Then they unmask the toy taker, and it turns out it's just a teddy bear on stilts, which is actually a really good plot twist. It's a great plot twist thinking back on it. And he's not just any teddy bear. He's a really old teddy bear that's literally dying. He's bleeding to death slowly because he's losing stuffing. And everybody realizes that that's why when they were investigating the toy house robbery at near Santa's house, the reason why they found peculiar footprints and the stuffing was because of him and his stuffing, his bleeding stuffing and the footprints and stuff. And then there's this really touching song where the teddy bear, what was his name? Cuddles or something? He tells the story of how he grew up with Stephen, a boy named Stephen, but it was eventually forgotten about and thrown away in the trash, and so he became the toy taker, so he would save all toys from being thrown away in the trash. And Santa tells him, oh, Mr. Cuddles, it's true that kids will eventually outgrow their toys, but they have to be loved by other kids. And the thing is, somehow I know this because I'm Santa Claus, Stephen was actually meaning to give you to his child, so I'll take you to him. So after Cuddles gets gets fixed up by Camilla, he does get returned to Stephen. And I remember Phelous' hilarious joke near the end of his review where he pretends to be an adult Stephen coming in, seeing Cuddles there going, "What the hell? I thought I threw this out years ago." And they always see Cuddles in the trash again, like in the flashback in the song. That's so sad, but so freaking funny. Okay. But beforehand, before we see Cuddles being returned to Stephen, Rudolph thinks over his previous request to Camilla about getting a new nose. He has this flashback montage where he finally realizes just how unique and useful and special his red nose is, and finally decides, you know what, I've been wanting to be normal for so long. I never ever realized exactly how special this nose is to me and to everyone I love. So my answer is no, I'm not going to get a new nose. Are you mad? And Camilla's like, Not at all, darling. You are fabulous just the way you are. And then we have the whole Cuddles returns to Stephen's daughter, and is passed on to Stephen's daughter, and Stephen comes in and is all happy and looks around, knowing that Santa's nearby. And then very much like the original film, we see a last shot of Santa and the sleigh and the reindeer going off, with Santa laughing, ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas to all good night, I think, or something along those lines. And the movie ends. So, did I remember that right? Sorry it took me a bit longer to explain this, unlike the original film, which was much more simple and to the point in the other video I made not too long ago. But, yeah, did I remember this right? Is that how it happened? More or less how it happened. Oh, and I forgot about that awesome ending song. It's gonna be the best Christmas ever. Will there be a finer Christmas? Never. There won't be one like today. You know, that still rings on my head when I remember it, when I think about it. It's just a great ending song. So does this movie have problems? Yeah, of course. Could it have done a lot more, done a lot better than it did? Yeah, absolutely. And it probably would have helped a lot more if it wasn't a rip-off film that GoodTimes Entertainment was infamous for, along with Dingo Pictures and Golden Films and etc. and all those other low-budget rip-off studios, I suppose you could call them. But it's still a really, really good film. There's still so much to like about it from what I can loosely remember. And I definitely look forward to looking at this again very soon. Probably as soon as I finish editing and uploading this video. So yeah, thank you so much for spending this time with me with both of the Rudolph movies of old and not so old. And this is the Spirit Man, the embracer of human good and analyst fiction, wishing you all a good night and a very Merry Christmas to come very soon, with some special last episodes of the Christmas 9 to come. Alright, good night everybody, and happy December to all as always.